7 o'clock. Call the meeting to order. DeWild.
Here.
Chisman.
Present.
Thompson.
Here.
McSparren.
Here.
Mitchell.
Here.
All present and accounted for. Next, we have the consent agenda. You see the library's report that's in here. Any questions about the consent agenda? Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that on January 11th, 2016, public hearing at 7 p.m. that we add item C to the public hearing meeting, which is notice of public hearing on proposed grade stabilization structure / Lagoon Road.
Oh, you just want to add that to the title? Is that what you're saying?
Add it to the minutes.
To the minutes.
Yes.
Minutes, okay.
Because that was what was on the tentative agenda.
That's the whole term.
Because right here, we have a meeting was called to order, roll call, and then motion made to adjourn. So we don't know what.
Okay,
the
we can do that.
meeting is about.
That's not a big issue. So what we need to do,
We're on the
We'll vote.
consent agenda,
Yeah.
so.
yeah, that's with the minutes, so we'll
Okay.
vote on that. And then we'll vote to approve the minutes as changed, the consent agenda, okay? I need a second to Bob's motion.
I'll second
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Well, I'm gonna start changing that. All those opposed, nay. It's been way too many meetings in the last 3 or 4, last 2 weeks concerning all these things that started at the beginning of the year. Okay, any other questions or comments about the consent agenda?
I don't know whether this is the proper time or place, but Iowa League of Cities said any meeting except closed sessions would be considered an open record and open to the public. So I think our work session needs to be written up a little bit as, we had the work session, talked about
it.
finances.
It is written up, we just don't have to have it published.
Right.
I've got it in the minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
Yeah.
Great.
I've been at the work sessions since I've been here, the only one who's ever had people at, but that's not a problem.
Yeah, it's run like a regular
Okay.
meeting,
But they don't
we
have
just
to
don't have to
publish.
publish it.
Right, I understand. I
Yeah.
agree with that.
But yeah, it's in the minutes.
Any other questions or comments about the consent agenda?
Make a motion to pass the consent agenda.
As the minutes have been
Amended with
amended.
the minutes.
I will second that.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries. All right. Mayor's report. It's cold today. I'm sure anybody was wondering about that. And, I know they're making progress on the sewer lining. We had a couple of issues with people's toilets backing up. We had one issue that was worse than the other, let's just say that, when the water was shooting up to hit the ceiling in the bathroom. It wasn't all bad stuff, but I mean, it was water, and then they had heat in the floor of the bathroom in the downstairs, and so that kind of got messed up, but municipal tool is taking care of that. It doesn't happen often, but sometimes it just happens to be in the right place. I remember last time, down that corner down there, I know the church, we got about 3 inches of water. I had about 4 or 5 in my basement, it seemed like that, and they took care of that. So, so that's, as far as I know, last I heard, they were taking care of getting that cleaned up and fixed and whatever. So, also, it brought to my attention that I made a statement in the meeting concerning the AFR for 2014 that I assumed was true, and I thought that was what I was told, but it wasn't. We didn't get it in on time. It didn't get published until January, so we need to make a note of change that, what my statement was about that goes. I don't have anything else at this particular time. So now we go to the grade stabilization structure, permit down at the Lagoon Road. Now, we talked about this drastically, and I know that we've looked at it, that what else can we do with that money? But if we change the project completely, then it has to start all over again, and that's about a 2-month, 3-month process. It has to have something to do with related to the sewer project that was finished before. The amount we get is based upon what we borrowed last time. And so, you remember we were going to we started down in the ditch down at the cemetery. And that was going to be, since our loan wasn't as much, we were going to be way short of money as far as for that was concerned. So they looked for another project, and it's putting in the pipe and the riser and fixing the corner of the Lagoon Road. Now, that's not all that needs to be done down there. I think everybody's aware of that. But that does need to be done, and if I was making a list of things to do, that probably wouldn't be the top of my list because of what it's going to cost. But since the money doesn't cost us anything, and if we don't do it, then we just lose it. I think that it probably would be, it won't hurt the road. It'll make it better, and then we can work on some of the other things. I know there are other things down that need to be done. We talked about the fence, which is going to have some repairs in some places. We need some more gravel and stuff down there, which when they start to do that, it might be possible that we could ask that we could purchase another truckload of gravel over and beyond this at that time while they're there and it's being hauled and all that kind of stuff. So what we need is
Can I ask a couple questions?
Yes.
Real quick? So if because this money's pretty much given back to us to use, we don't have to pay interest on it or anything like that. If we don't approve this tonight, then pretty much we don't have enough time to use it and we're gonna lose it, right?
That's basically what it comes down to. We decide,
Okay.
if we don't approve it and we decide we're not going to do it, then there's not enough time to be, I think we have to have it started by April 30th.
Okay. So even if we were to make special meetings, they still need the time to process everything.
That's
And that's
little-
where a problem is,
Has
right?
very little to do with our part,
Okay.
as far as the time is concerned.
I'm just trying to fully get the grasp of everything. So as far as the road goes, this might be not be the top thing on the agenda for the road, but if we work a little bit on it now, it's something we don't have to pay out later on, right? Is that something that, or is it something that doesn't really need to be done? Let me ask
No,
that
it
question.
needs to be done. I mean, they're gonna, the pipe that runs down underground is gonna go from 18 inches to 30 inches. Then there's gonna be a 40 inch pipe, I think, with a riser on it to help collect some of that dirt and then dispense the water down this way. I know, we're gonna have to figure, and I don't know what, there's any something else project as far as the road water coming down from the street and running down that way. This may help some of that a little bit if we can divert some of that water before it gets to there. But that's an issue that we're gonna have to address at a later time, some recommendations. Any other questions?
I forget just what meeting, but we approved a 20-year maintenance agreement on that.
Right.
So I guess I wished I'd seen some plans before I voted on it, that that's water under the bridge or through the tube, as you may say. But
Down the tube would be
Right.
right.
Anyway, we're committed for 20 years to take care of it. And in that paper, it says if we don't maintain it, we could have to pay money back to the Iowa DNR.
Yes.
And I think one thing in there said after every, almost big rain or rain, we have to go down there and make sure that grading is unplugged so that thing doesn't spill over. And I'm still concerned about erosion. I guess, I don't know when we're gonna do our dredging. Do we have any idea when the dredging will take place?
Tentatively, it's gonna start in April, when it's.
To me, that's kind of a bad combination, dredging and
The
road
dredging,
work.
they're not gonna fix the road. if we approve who gives us the lowest bid, they're not gonna fix the road until after they get done with the dredging. I mean, they may start it to that point. I'm guessing as far as dredging, we drain the lagoons, I think it's every quarter or every 6 months. And they will be drained, I think, again in March. I talked to Joe and what we talked about. After that draining, then they'll start the dredging and getting that out of there. Because, well, the only bid we got came from Leffler's Dirt Works, and I talked with Chad, and he said, well, no, we're not gonna fix the road and then run all those big trucks up and down the thing like that, which doesn't make any sense for anybody, that it would be after that.
I guess I'm still concerned about erosion in the spring. If we get a bad year, we could have a mess. And when they're done with the job, then it's ours from there on, correct?
There's a bond that they put up, and if they're supposed to fix it when they leave, that the erosion's supposed to be taken care of as much as it can be. I mean, we know that you get 8 inches of rain.
Big rocks and things that were
Yeah.
supposed to be put in
Yeah.
place to help with the
So
erosion.
if,
I'm talking about where they put all the dirt around the road. There's a basin with the big rock that comes down to
Yeah.
that catch tube, I think.
Yeah, and so if it wasn't done right, they will come back. We have 12 months for them to come back and they
Okay.
and redo that. So, because they hold out 10%, or maybe it's more than that. They put down a bond and then they hold out 10% until at least the 12 months afterwards, and then we authorize the payment for that. So, as far as that goes. Now, we're obligated to maintain the road as it is. I mean, for longer than 20 years, as long as the lagoons are down there, we're obligated to maintain it, and keep it up. We have dumped, I know, quite a little bit of gravel down there in the last couple of years that continues to wash away in that place where they're wanting to widen the road and put the riser and stuff in it to help take care of that.
Most of that comes down from runoff from Wilson Street
Yeah.
down the road, which if we build that up there a little bit, that should divert that on west instead of going down.
That's the hope, and as far as what they're doing with all this. Like I said, this is not going to solve all the problems with the Lagoon Road forever, or there'll still be issues with it that we're going to have to take care of. But this is one that, from the studies, it should alleviate a lot of the washout in that basin down there. Take care of that. Last time we voted on this, we had 2-2, and I voted aye, and then I talked about the League of Cities in the next day, and mayors in Iowa can't vote under any circumstances. And he said, well, what happens is it just becomes a dead issue that you can bring up at any meeting in the future and vote on again. So that's why it's on the agenda this evening.
I have a motion to approve the proposed grade stabilization structure.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any other discussion? We're gonna do a roll call vote, if that's all right with everybody. DeWild,
Aye.
Chisholm,
Negative.
Thompson,
I with reservations.
McSparren,
Aye.
Mitchell. Nay. So we have 3 ayes, 2 nays, motion carried. All right, now then, moving on to the next thing is approve the bid on the grade stabilization, which I have here, which has been gone through by French Reniker to make sure that everything is supposed to be here in the bond and all that's posted and signed by everybody. So, the estimates went out, and they figured it's gonna be $30,000 approximately, so, but the bid came in at $27,907.50 by Leffler Dirt Works. They were the only ones who submitted a bid, and I saw the list of the places they sent it, organizations to bid, but they're the only ones that bid on it. So, what we need to do, we need to approve.
To approve the bid for
Okay.
Leffler Dirt Works for the grade stabilization.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, move in second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay? Nay. Motion carries 3-2. Thank you. All right. Insurance. Cindy's been working with our insurance company about a number of things, and she's going to give us a report at this time, right?
Yes, I just kind of wanted to give you guys an update. I had sat down with Lean and talked to her, and we'd gone through a lot of changes. When we got our anniversary packet, I went back through everything that I thought had been completed and found some of the things that were supposed to be changed were not done as we had talked about. So I am now currently working with her. One of the fire trucks that was supposed to be removed was still on the policy. The other two were on there, but I have concerns now because they're not valued properly. So I am currently in the works. I'm going to talk to Roberta again and get that straightened out. One of the building, the pump house by the water tower, we're adding that. It was not on there. So that's kind of a big concern with all that equipment for the water tower, the radio control and everything. So that will be added to the policy. She's told me at this time, because we will be removing the truck, she says if there's no increase over $50,000 in changes, it should not increase the policy premium. So far we've done really well in that, and we're hoping maybe there won't be. If there is a small increase, which I'm not sure that there really will be, just because it's very minimal, it's just things that needed to be done, that like the gator was never added for the fire department, and the fire department might be leaving soon, so it's probably likely that we'll get a credit back even if there's a small increase. So I kind of wanted to bring you guys up to speed and let you know where that's at, and everything is working out. Just been a long, drawn-out process.
Thanks, Cindy.
Yeah.
It's usually easier to get things added to your insurance policy than to get them taken
I
away.
know.
You know, it just seems it works that way, doesn't it? But yeah, well, we appreciate your hard work, and
They wanted us to sign that in this month, isn't it?
Yes, they want it done by the 11th, and we can fax it or email it to her, whichever works.
But
so.
I'm not going to sign it until they get those things
Yes,
straightened out.
and I should have an email to her with the final changes. I'm going to go ahead and give this to you. This is a copy of the ones that were just corrected, and I've got one more pending right now that I just need the dimensions of the house, or the building. I just wanted to go, I'm going to go out on my little thing and make sure it's correct and send it in, just so there's no dispute later.
We need to make copies of that for everybody.
Yeah.
Everyone else can have one. All right. The next thing on the agenda is the tornado siren. Which is located in the community building where the fire department used to be. But David told me there is a button that they can push out of the fire department that's supposed to activate it. I don't think, some of you remember when we talked before that, when Chuck Inlow was still here, that there's a breaker just for the alarm in the community building, and when he was at, it was turned off, so it didn't work. So I don't know whether it's turned on now. Dave's going to go over the next time and have coffee and try to get in there and see if we know what it is, and then we have to go out and push it. The problem is we push it and everyone's going to wonder what's going on, but there's no way you can test it if you don't push the button. It goes on for 3 to 5 minutes or something like that. But if it doesn't work, then we're going to have to. I think the fire department itself is looking at a grant for a new one to move to put out here. If I remember right, talking to someone about that.
I know they were testing the best location for one, which was on the pole right beside my house. It's very loud. But I don't know what has ever happened with that, to be honest with you. So.
I know, we met with the fire department a couple of times since then, and I know that that's one of the things that they're looking at doing. We really need to have one last summer, if you remember, when we had the tornado warnings or watches or whatever, which one was the worst, that they brought the fire truck up to the corner and set the siren off, which is, a good thing. It let people know that there was an issue, but the fire truck may be needed someplace else. so they can't leave it parked there, but that's something that we're going to have to follow up and find out what the deal is. Whether this one can be moved. I don't want it down in your house because that's pretty close to my house.
Do you remember when they were testing it, that cycling? We were sitting behind the house like, this is really loud.
At first I didn't know what it was. I thought, oh, that's okay. No.
So it used to be in the park ages ago.
Yeah.
I don't even know there's a pole anymore up there.
They were trying to find a central location. They went through a lot of testing, I guess, around the area, and that was the best for everybody to be able to hear, because they went and stationed people around the community to
Right.
test it, so it was kind of, yeah. I'm not sure, you don't know where that's at, do you, Brian?
No.
The only thing, I mean, my only concern would be is hopefully if the breaker could at least be on for this one, because if this one works, to use the one at the Cass, on Cass
Well,
Street.
what we could do, if it does work, we could take the wire that goes to that breaker and replace it or extend it and put a box on the outside. It has a lock on it, you know, so everything goes up and down and a lock on it. So that it would constantly be there, because it's only gonna use electricity when it's activated. But, you know, if it gets to be an issue that because if you need to get in there and you can't, we could, that's a possibility, something that we could do. We could put a box there and then just put it outside. And
Would there be any kind of way it could be controlled with radio or something?
That's what I think that's what they're looking at with the new, they're either got or they're getting, all the fire departments are getting upgraded their radios, but you heard that?
They recently were
Recently,
upgraded,
yes.
yes, and
So-
it's the new, because they went to that new hertz or something that you guys have to use frequency. But I know there's been issues with the point to point, because we don't have a tower that, in the middle, that makes everything talk.
Right.
So,
We have a tower, just nobody wants to climb out there. Is there anything on top of the water tower, antenna? I thought,
I
no.
think so, that, there's a tower that used to be for the cable TV next to it,
Okay.
down there to the brick
Right.
building you're talking about.
well, I think they can't use the water tower again. They have to
No.
use a different tower, and that's where we're running into. They're trying to find a tower last I knew that they could use, but they're having a problem finding one that's economical maybe. I don't know all the things, because my husband and I do try to keep our lives separate to a
Yes.
certain.
Come on. So,
So, need a fire person here to, I don't know, Brian, how much you know about it, but
I
you don't know about that.
I don't know much about that either.
Okay.
The elevator would be a good place to talk to them.
that's pretty high up there now.
Yeah. And they've got a lot of different things up there now.
Yeah.
I can do some snooping around too and
Yeah,
find
because
out
I
what they
think,
know in the fire
I'm
department.
pretty sure they got their antenna for their trucks and trailers out there. That might be, if they would be willing, that might be something to look at.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be the one that climbs up there and puts it up there. When those guys were working on that, they were running up and down in that catwalk up the top. I thought, I'm not afraid of heights, but I just don't know that I wanna run up and down that skinny little thing.
I am. I'm not going up that high unless there's an airplane wrapped around me. Don't be high.
Okay. Discussion on the RAGBRAI 2016. I think you have some information on that.
Yeah, the question was, we had a historical society meeting and we are starting to plan our events around RAGBRAI. So some time ago, and I didn't bring it with me after I talked to you this afternoon, Bill, but some time ago, it was pre-2011, there was either a resolution or a city ordinance or something that required people to pay $100 in order to participate in, do you remember, Janie?
Yeah, I remember hearing about it.
Yeah, and I was curious to know what the cities, if the city's thought about it yet and what they plan on doing for RAGBRAI this year, or if there's anything in the works yet.
Well, if we were to have that, the ordinance is not found in the code book, as it's been updated. And the way the code is written, our code is written, it says that nothing in this nothing in here will apply to nonprofit, civic, religious, fraternal organizations and that. So, as I read that, even if we passed a special ordinance that people would have to pay $100 or $1,000, whatever it is, that the nonprofits would still be exempt, because that's why the ordinance of the code is written as far as that goes. I'm personally not planning on instituting any.
I personally think though, if they're gonna be setting up something, you know, that there should be some sort of fee, a permit to, to do.
If it's somebody, as long as it's not, they're a nonprofit, then we can. It does also talk. You can require them to fill out a permit. That it also says that there's no cost for that, but just so that you know what's going on. if that comes to the point, I think we will probably do that, have those who want to display come up and fill out a permit and get a copy so that we're aware what's going on. And, you know, if they're a nonprofit, or say if someone from Unionville comes up here and wants to set up, or if the elevator wants to start selling birdseed or grain or something, they're a nonprofit, then there is a fee for that. I think it says $30 in our ordinance that they would have to pay to set up. And my thinking at this point in time is whatever that ordinance section says about that, then I think that's what we ought to follow.
I guess, I think we should probably look at it and discuss it, and I think I really think there should be some sort of fee. We are running a business, our city is a business, so, and they're probably making profit. If they actually come through here, I'm not sure from the map if it's gonna come through here or around us, but.
They're supposed to have a gentleman set a meeting up with us, and because they said there was a lot of vendors that travel with them.
Yeah.
That wants to set up. So I'm like you know, if they're
So
not.
if that's the case, they would be charged, our fee in the code says charge $30 for the fee. And, you know,
That's really cheap.
I would not be opposed to raising that fee for on a temporary basis, but for our nonprofits in our community, there still would be no fee for that.
Yeah, and Cindy's right, or whoever said it, maybe it was Roberta, but they haven't posted the whole route yet. So I know they're supposed to be coming from one destination city of Centerville, and then the next destination city is Atumwa. So they're also advertising it as the third, fourth, fifth shortest route ever. So I'm assuming that they'll come through Blakesburg and up and around, but because we're in a
in printing yet, though.
no, it's an assumption at this point in time, but we're kind of in our budget planning right now for the Historical Society, and we, you know, like to do the RAGBRAI, of course, and kind of wanted to know what we'd be.
The ordinance says if you had to have a permit, a no-charge permit, if you're within the city and you're a nonprofit, but just so that we know who's going to be going on, and we don't have, and probably the permit will tell you where you're going to do this, so we don't have 6 people trying
Do
to
we
crowd on the
also
cannon.
consider though, like with whatever they might be selling? I mean, if somebody comes in and says sell cigarettes, is that gonna make a difference over somebody that comes in and just makes homemade
Well,
pies?
see,
that are
we have a
donated?
cigarette, you'd have to have a cigarette license and cigarette license, which is only $25, which is really.
Really needs to be addressed.
I have never.
How many cigarettes do you think
I don't know
we'd sell
any
to the
place.
bikers?
Like, you know, someone might be oxygen deprivating by that point, you know, or wanting to, I should say.
I think that our
Yeah,
fee for
beer.
cigarette
Beer.
license.
Well, alcohol
Be better
insurance
off
might
with the
be
liquor
like-
license.
Is
It's really cheap.
very low. I don't think we need to make it $3,000, but you know, I think we could probably raise it to $100 at the minimum. That it's still not gonna cause a hardship on anybody who's getting one of those
It's
licenses.
in that business.
Yeah, but it would definitely be somewhat more in line with the 20th century, maybe not the 21st century, but we can move up 1 century at a time.
Where you're gonna have to pay for the water and the garbage, you know, we're gonna have to dispose of all that, so that's cost to us. So.
Yeah, so if they can bring vendors that come with them, then they're gonna have to, there will be a fee for them, and they will have to, if they're gonna sell liquor or cigarettes, they'll have to get a license and that kind of stuff.
What about nonprofits from outside the city?
The code basically just refers to people that are inside.
Because I think they should pay something.
Yeah,
I don't think our people should.
no, but we'll, you know, I don't know if.
Does RAGBRAI furnish anything the towns they go through, or you're just a host?
I think it's a lot of debris.
Yeah, it's supposed to bring a lot of business to the towns and stuff, that's why a lot of them accept it.
I'm kind of curious to see, you know, like one year they were really in a hurry to get to Atumwa, so they all kind of passed us by. But I still remember when I was a teenager and they were all sleeping on my lawn the next morning. So I'm kind of curious to see what will happen this year. I might charge parking fees if they're gonna lay on my lawn.
You know what our biggest fundraiser might be? It's charge for the bathroom in the museum.
Well, there are such a thing as paid toilets.
We have a public restroom, which is not free, but.
Make sure that donation jar is in the bathroom.
That's right.
Or right beside-
Yeah, you can get in free, but the door won't open to get out till you drop something in. Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that there are a lot of things we don't know yet, but when we find out more, because I would think that they should release that permanent route sometime by the end of March, it seems like they would.
I've read somewhere that it was going to be in March.
Yeah, I
that
mean,
they
see, I'm
released
trying to
the
think
final-
last year when they had it in the paper, you know, that even though it didn't come here, they publicized
Yeah.
it in the registers.
Mhm.
So when that happens, then we'll have something prepared to take care of that.
The months just seem to be flying by here. so-
Yeah, well, this one kind of got stuck in the mud or the ice
Yeah.
today, so it slowed way down. All right. Old business, I know that we've got, you see the special ordinances concerning trees, which we just want to put in a special ordinance every week. No, if this is, Bob wants to talk about this.
Well, I've got something else I'd like to visit about. It's been bugging me, and I don't need to know today, but the January 11th meeting in the consent agenda, there was card services, $640, payroll belonging to the city. And I wondered what the dickens.
Well, the card service is the credit card. And the city has two. One, City Hall, and the fire department has one that says Blakesburg City, Blakesburg Fire Department. And so what those were the payments of the things that were charged.
So it actually, we weren't actually paying employees.
No. That has to do with, there's a lot of stuff that you have to pay back, like our rent stuff at Sam, we had that on it, that's what it is.
Okay.
Just like for everybody to start thinking about trees, there's a pamphlet there that came from Iowa Extension. And I think in the park, I'll find my notes, I think there's at least 5 ash trees up there.
Those are big ones mostly along Main Street.
I had a gentleman give me his card that cuts trees, and I told him we weren't to where we were, knew what we were gonna do, excuse me. And I would turn his name in if that time came, but he might have to do a bid, and I didn't know what we were gonna do. I guess the first thing, if I can find it here in my mess, this city code, or section 787, talks about, I guess what I'm asking, are the trees in the parking going to be the responsibility of the city to remove as they become diseased?
They are going to be responsibility of the city since they're on city property. Technically, any tree that's between the sidewalk and the street is on city property. So I know that there are a couple, I'm sure. That big one between me and the yellow house down there, and it's home to a number of critters because there are holes on every level, every branch in there. But yeah, they are responsibility. Now, if one of them is, let's say one of them is in my yard and it becomes diseased, the city can tell me I have to take it down, or whatever, or fix it, and if not, then we can dispose of it. We don't have nearly the problem there. I know like in Grinnell, they've got, I think they said almost 300, 400 ash trees lining their streets and stuff. Some cities have a lot more, and it's going to be pretty costly. Like the Dutch elms disease. I remember, come on, all those nice streets, Chester and all that, all those big elm trees, and beautiful. Well, there aren't any anymore.
I know there's a lot of people that were worried about it in Tumwa, but nobody when I worked at Earl May, a lot of people had their trees checked, but nobody at the time had
It's kind of
received
like
them yet, the ash borers. They're maybe slowly migrating, but they haven't gotten
if you have an ash tree, if it doesn't have it now, probably in the next 5 years, it will. Now, I listened to something on the radio that a less expensive way than some of them, are treated. Of course, that some of those are less expensive, and they just put it right on them, but it doesn't actually treat it. It just, do you remember the elm trees, they used to take that about 3-inch black, I don't know what it was, and they put it around all of them. Didn't save them. But, yeah, but probably this spring, we're gonna have them tested or looked at or something, and then if they can be treated reasonably, then I think that would be the way to go. If it's a point that it has to come down, and probably the county is gonna come to the point, if you have a number that are diseased, they may step in and say, you know, these have to go. But I'm not exactly sure that's gonna happen.
Okay, I've got two, a small one in the parking and a big old one, and the top blew out this winter. I'm talking pretty good chunk of lumber, probably from here to those fellows over there or longer. And I know it was dead this past year in the top, but I don't remember about the year before, so, you know, we kinda need to be thinking what we
Well, it's
might
a
wanna
big
do.
stress though, when they come to the end of their life, trees do eventually die, there's a lot of reasons why they can.
It's vanished, it's dead.
You'll know, they've got a D-shaped hole if they have the larva in them, it's a distinct D if they're infected, and all you gotta do is peel off a chunk of the bark and you'll see the little white tunnels in the D shapes where they've been eating in there, so it's not
One of-
hard to diagnose them. I'm sorry.
That fella just kinda, I said, why don't you give me a ballpark on a big tree? And the one down on South Street in Maine, what I call the Sandifer House, is a big tree. I think he said $900 on that. And I didn't say anything to him about insurance or bonding, but I think we probably want to look at that if we have people taking down big trees along a gravel road.
Well, yeah, especially where they are. Because they're all on the roadways, in main streets or something. Okay, well, we'll keep that in mind. Yes, ma'am?
I don't know when you're gonna make some decisions on how to go forward, but just so everybody knows, if you want to apply for a grant from Alliant, that is due, I believe it's middle or end of June, I don't have it with me, but you kinda need a plan in place in order to apply for the grant if you're gonna.
Well, before then, we'll come up with something, what we want to do as far as.
Well, I have a couple of questions, I guess if we're gonna talk about the financial part of it. One thing I wondered was, and I mentioned this to Bob, is I don't know if even a foresting company could come in and harvest the trees, and maybe, you know, we could pay for part of their fuel in that if they would take the trees as part of it, so there's not like a huge cost to us. I don't know if they would do that. The other thing, I mean, because I remember people used to have people count forest around our property, and not on mine specifically, but our neighbors, and they got paid for them to come take the trees. So, and it doesn't sound like these trees are dead yet, so that's a plus, because I mean, it's not like they would be infested. The other thought I wondered was, is this something that would be on the next year's budget? Or are we gonna try to work it into this budget? Because I wouldn't think there'd be budgeting for it this year.
No. It is, and it's not like it's an emergency that we have to do something this summer. It may get to that point if we put it off long enough, but I mean,
Because early spring is when they recommend treating them, so
Yeah.
we need to kind of.
so if we can, you know, look to March or April, have something together then that we can talk about and decide what we want to do.
I think the arborist that you had come here last year, Bob, was pretty certain that some of them in the park were infected already.
Oh, I thought you just said some of them were aging, that they were dying
They're,
because they were
well,
aging.
they're all old, but there's,
Yeah.
we probably need somebody that really knows what they're doing to look at them.
Well, if you got 5 trees in a row, and 2 of them have this ash borer, then it's pretty sure that the others, if they don't have it, they're going to have it in the near future. So,
It's a shame we probably didn't start looking last year, but I wasn't involved with the whole process. So.
yeah, well, you know, a lot of the cities are the same way, you know, that this thing came out and okay, well then, I know that last year there were a number of them that did the assessment and found out that you're talking millions of dollars in some of the larger cities and even some of the middle sizes because that's what they planted. You know, so when the elm trees went away, they all planted ash trees because, you know, they kind of get the same kind of leaves and as far as that goes, which sounded like a good idea at the time, I'm sure.
I'm gonna throw this out there, just not because I'm advertising for Earl May, but because I'm economical. I do know though, they used to charge only, at the time they only used, when I was working there, they only used to charge if they diagnosed that there was actually a problem with the tree. But just to come and assess it, and if their tree is healthy, they don't charge. I mean, they may, because we live so far from Earl May, there might be a small charge, but the charge is only about $30. So I just thought I'd toss that out there as
Well, it's
something
probably
that-
something we need to do in the spring, when we find out. At least,
Oh, I think we should see what we should do there.
yeah, well, yeah, I think that saving the trees would be the first.
It'll be pretty warm in the park if we don't do something this year, we're probably, the wind or where we'll have to start cutting them.
Yeah.
Well, once you start the injections, that's an ongoing thing. That's not, I mean, for the life of the tree then. You don't stop once you start those injections to
Right.
I mean,
save the
hire
tree.
people to
If
send
I
out
remember-
little hammers and hit them when they sit their head, they pop their heads out, just smack them.
Yeah.
If I remember right, injections are about $400 approximately, and like you can buy the systemic that goes around the root, and that usually runs about $60 for 134 fluid ounces approximately, I think is the average price around. And then that depends on the dimension of the tree. They think they figure 30 fluid ounces of some of the chemicals per your circumference size of 10 inches in circumference.
If we could treat some things that look like they're gonna make it, and buy us a little time to,
Right.
you know.
So,
decide what
we're gonna have to get an exact estimation about what's going, what.
Because your grant is gonna get more and more competitive too. As
Oh, I'm sure they are,
cities-
because there's gonna be a lot more.
Yeah, yeah. So, and Dale and I volunteered to do the grant, but the city needs to have a plan,
Yeah.
the finances, before you can apply for the grant, so.
Okay. Any new business?
Well, I don't know if this falls under new business or old business, but do we need a second work study for the budget? I didn't know if we heard anything back yet or not.
We sent it to Bernie, and he sent us a tentative copy. Then we sent him the changes that we made in our work session, and he's gonna get that back to us.
Okay.
The budget hearing meeting is set for March 7th. He did that because he didn't really know that we moved our meeting to the 14th, but we don't really move it to the 14th since it has to be to the 15th. But the 7th will give us time to get it approved and get it into to the courier and to the auditor.
Was that due by the 15th or something?
Yeah, 15th.
And our meeting went until the 14th, so we just said.
Yeah, and
the
so,
7th to give us a
so
week.
we may have 2 meetings that month, have one just for the budget, then have a regular meeting next week. Depending on what all we have on the agenda for the next week as far as that goes. We can, at the budget hearing, and then when we get in session, we can reduce any number that is on there. If we see that maybe that's too much. You can't raise it, but you can reduce it to do that. So I didn't know that till I've been to 2 other organizations in the county that have to present their budgets, and that's what I found out there, that when you present it and you say, well, we're not gonna need that much money, you can always reduce that before it's sent, but you can't raise it at all. So that's the plan. The budget, the hearing is going to be on the 7th, and we'll have a meeting after that to approve the budget by resolution. And it has to be, not just a pass, so we'll do that. And then, right now, I'm just saying we're going to have another regular meeting on March the 14th, unless something happens and changes or whatever. But I think that that's probably the best thing to do. We'll wait and see. Okay?
Okay.
Any other new business? Any public comments?
You want to address that this evening?
No.
Okay.
So, what time is that budget meeting?
Well, the hearing will be at 7 o'clock, and then the meeting will follow that.
Okay, so we're gonna have budget hearing.
7, and then the meeting following that. Then hearing none and seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Or nay. Motion carries. Thank you.